Hello everyone, and welcome to this audio podcast. This will be the sort of final audio podcast as part of this audio podcast edition. This audio podcast as part of a ZtormLabostix article. This audio podcast as part of a Siege Solar Storm. This audio podcast is part of a Stax'n'um edition. This audio podcast as part of a ZtormLabostix production. In this audio podcast, a look at some of the citations or references that can be that can be accessed on social media on ZtormLabostix social media. There will be a sort of overview of some of the references or citations that listeners and viewers are welcome to use to access more sort of more relating or regarding sort of citation references in around hemolytic uremic syndrome. So there's works by Brian and team from in around 2005, and looking at the epidemiology, microbiology, and clinical impact of sugar toxin producing E. coli in England between 2009 and 2012. Where the works was published in epidemiology and infection in the journal Epidemiology and Infection in around 2005. There's works by Schultz and team in around 2014, and works are published looking at TV news and concerns about the EHEC outbreak in around 2011 in Germany, and the works was published in Journal Gastroenterology. There's works published in around 2016 by Talarico and team, looking at hemolytic uremic syndrome in children, and published in around 2016 in the journal Minerva Pediatrics, again 2016. There's works by Mohammed and team. Mohammed and team looking at hemolytic uremic syndrome (HUS), the clinical medicine versus clinical anatomy, published in around 2017 as an editorial in the Austin Journal of Anatomy. As works by works by works also by Walters and team, looking at the polymorphonuclear leukocyte count in childhood hemolytic uremic syndrome, published in Pediatric Nephrology in around 1989. Published in 1989. There's works by Milford and team, looking at prognostic markers in diarrhea associated hemolytic uremic syndrome, initial neutrophil count, neutrophil elastase, and the von Willebrand antigen, published in Nephrology, Dialysis and Transplantation in around 1991, and so the literature and the evidence in around HUS has been in some way somewhat substantial. However, the sort of treatment and the treatment the treatment aspects in around pediatrics and young people diagnosed can vary depending on this depending on diagnosis, depending on the time of diagnosis, and sort of in around the sort of early challenges, depending on the early challenges of diagnosed recipients. So that draws this audio podcast to a close. This audio podcast is part of a ZtormLabostix article. This audio podcast is part of a Siege Solar Storm. This audio podcast is part of a Stax'n'um edition. This audio podcast as part of a ZtormLabostix production.